So hi, Misbah. Great to see you.
Hi, Willie. How are you doing? Good to see you again.
So, in a nutshell, tell me what i2iVentures is actually all about.
Sure. We're an early stage venture fund. We invest in founders that are building for the big market in Pakistan and the opportunities in the region around us. We come in really early in the stage, in the evolution of a company, of a startup. So that means pre-seed and seed stage in our sort of lingo. And we then continue to work closely with the founders to help their company grow. So we are a venture fund. We're a commercial venture fund, and we're focused on investing at this early stage.
You and your partner, you have been working with the startups in Pakistan for a very, very long time, I would say. So, if I could give you 2 minutes to describe the startup and startup investment ecosystem in Pakistan, what would be your message?
Sure. So where we are today is that Pakistan does have a thriving startup ecosystem. There are many founders coming in and setting up interesting companies. It has investors that came in a few years ago. So if we go back to your point about us being in the market, if we go back to like 2011, 2012, there were already startups in the Pakistani space. Founders were already trying to build solutions for the market. But what happened in 2019, 2018, 2019 is venture funds like ours came in, and that changed the investment landscape and the investment opportunities available to those startup founders. So, what they were then able to do is actually raise money for those companies to help them grow. And so, where we are today, fast forward 5 years, that's how long as our fund has been operating officially as well, and other peer funds in the market. What we see now is that there are 5 or 6 funds that are doing really well. We all have between 15 to 25 startups each that we've invested in, some overlaps as well. And these companies are now growing, expand. Some of them have expanded outside Pakistan. Some of them are continue to expand in Pakistan. And they've continued to raise money not only from funds like us, but funds across the region and globally. One caveat that I will give is like just like the global downturn in the last couple of years that we've seen across different markets, Pakistan also had a bit of a slowdown, and that has its pros and cons. So while broadly speaking, the investment landscape has been impacted from an external perspective, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing because Pakistani startups have focused on profitability, on path to profitability, rather than growth for growth's sake, which is a bit of the Silicon Valley mindset. So they have not had enough money to throw at the problem. They've had to find real solutions to these problems. And so while things have slowed down in the last, I would say, maybe 2 years or so, the opportunity is really, really huge. And that's why we continue to invest in this space.
So over the last years, we know each other very well. So we have been talking a lot about the technology and knowledge transfer opportunities between Finland and Pakistan, kind of the all the things where Finns could be supporting the Pakistani counterparts. So what's your take on this right now? So there are some positive, very positive and good news about Pakistan out there. What's your message to Finland or maybe to other European countries as well about startup and tech and investments? Why is they should actually look at Pakistan right now?
Yeah, and I think like you said, we've already seen some great examples of Finnish companies investing in Pakistan, having joint ventures in the country, making investments in the not only in the last couple of years, but even going back beyond that. What we haven't seen as much is that kind of engagement, interaction on the startup side and the pure tech side, and I think that's a big opportunity because techs do lead in certain kinds of infrastructure or tech, landscape across the world. And I think for Pakistani founders, if I were to use one word to describe them, I think they're hungry. They're hungry for partnerships. They're hungry for education and knowledge. They're hungry to learn from other people's experience. So I think one opportunity, the first thing I will say, and you're doing a great job at this, and thank you for such a great service to our country, is that people need to know about Pakistan. We have a perception problem. We need to change that. And most of the time, when I've met someone that's come to the country, met people, seen the business environment, they go back saying, wow, I didn't know that there was so much that could be done in Pakistan. So I think that's the first thing. And I think, you're one of the players that's actually helping with that. So perception, understanding the opportunities, sitting down face to face with your counterparts in a different market like Pakistan and understanding what are the opportunities is the first step. I think beyond that, there are ways to engaging people with each other and looking at opportunities where people like you who have a good vantage point can say, hey, I know a startup in Pakistan that's doing something where somebody who's senior at Nokia or somebody else could actually just help them with their eyes closed because this is something they do day in and day out. So I think knowledge transfer is also important and interesting, and that can doesn't need to be done on a company wide basis. It could be done on an individual basis. There could be an individual in Finland who listens to this and said, wow, I'm interested. Let me look and see where are the companies that I might just come in as a mentor or as an advisory board member. And then, of course, there's much more deeper relationship, which is either you make an investment or you set up something together. And that obviously takes more conversations, a little more getting to know each other. But I would say that there are opportunities, like we do this as venture investors. We're always looking out to see who can I introduce my founders to that has had a similar experience in setting up a company. It could be anywhere in the world. It could not be. It could may even be a different business model. But just that experience of having gone through it, understanding the requirements and the rigor of what it takes. And then the other is obviously technical expertise. If somebody is in the telecom sector and they're looking at a company that's building in partnership with telcos, there's a lot of value add that could come over there. Somebody that has a banking or finance background, somebody that has a tech background, which can look at a company in Pakistan building something in fintech, for example, and say, hey, these are things that I could potentially help with because when we were in our company 10 years ago, we faced similar issues. So I think there's two or three different categories I would divide it in. I think the lowest hanging fruit is just support. To your word about support, it's about engagement. It's about how can I mentor you? How can I exchange information? And perhaps learning goes both ways. Maybe that person in Finland is interested in learning about Pakistan and or startups in a particular area. And Willie, going back to your first question, what is the opportunity? We are such a big market. We're such a young market. We're a tech savvy market. There's a lot of tailwinds that are coming up now after a few tough years in the economic and political climate, where we do think that if you hang in there and you look at the long-term potential of Pakistan, you'll see a market that's actually on the consumer side going to be it's already the fifth largest market, is going to be even larger in terms of the middle class in a couple of years. But you'll also see people that are wanting to do things, wanting to be entrepreneurial, wanting to get stuff done, and also build for outside. And we have a huge cost advantage when it comes to labor. And sure, maybe you can't hit the ground running with the tech talent in Pakistan, but there's so much talent that you can actually, with a little bit of training, really build and leverage this opportunity where Pakistan can be a low cost base for any company across the world and export our services in partnership with somebody who's working outside and looking at markets outside.
That's so true. I think the key thing is that people don't know anything about Pakistan, which is a wonderful link to something that I really wanted to ask you as well. So you guys are really the female powerhouse in the startup and investing world of Pakistan. So I think I need to ask this. So I just joined an absolutely wonderful Pakistan national reception hosted by the Finnish Pakistani Friendship Organization a few weeks back. And a little bit surprisingly, I have to say, even for me, I met such an interesting group of female IT and tech professionals. So Pakistanis living in Finland and working in IT. So obviously, gender equality is quite much inbuilt already in the Scandinavian countries. But if you take your female startup tech investing world approach, is there anything all of us in Finland could do to support women in tech and investing world in Pakistan?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, like I said, we are a pure commercial fund, but we take a gender lens approach in our investments, which means that we do want to see more women come into the startup space and more women raise investment from funds like ours. And so I am proud to say that, 30% of our portfolio is female founded and female co-founded. So it can be done. We're the only fund that has that. And maybe being women ourselves, we're more conscious of it. I think one thing that we found is that there are women in different walks of life in Pakistan that are doing great things. It's about getting to them. It's about giving them the opportunities for access. And so one thing that we found, at least at our end, is that we have to do the extra work to bring women into the top of our funnel when we're looking at startups. And then once they're in our pipeline, we evaluate them like any other company. Like we look at commercial terms, we look at the market opportunity, and we don't necessarily get biased by the fact that they're women, but we do the extra work to bring them into our pipeline. And we have a sister company that does ecosystem building programs, that has done programs in partnership with the World Bank, other DFIs, to bring more women and train more women into the workspace. So I think one is that when you're in the market, there is work to be done to make sure that you access those women and that you provide them access. And there's some organizations that are doing that. I think one way to support is to work with those organizations, strengthen them, support them, perhaps financially, but also talent-wise. We have people that are coming in and volunteering time to be startup coaches for women startup founders so that they can help them get to the next level. I think the other thing is to build equality and equity within our own market. So one thing that we're doing is that we're working with our portfolio companies to ensure that they also have women-friendly workspaces, that they also look at, and I'm proud to say that most of them are already doing this. It's not something that's coming from me and saying, oh, you must do this. But it is something that they're aware of and that they're also doing it, which is why those are the kind of founders we've invested in. But I think there is an opportunity to do this where you build up women that are actually doing stuff already within those companies. You give them the opportunities. I think the third thing is culturally in Pakistan, we have a support system because most people have families around them and are able to help support with children, etc. But very often we found that as women are going up in their career, this does continue to be a bit of a something that holds you back. So I think there are lessons to be learned from the way you guys are and countries in your region have approached this many, many years ago in terms of the equity between the sexes. I think that gender parity in terms of like, okay, whether you're a man or a woman, you will get paternity leave, right? Or maternity leave, whether you are, and that sort of helps people start to understand like, oh, it's not something as a woman that I'm responsible for only in my household duties. My spouse or my partner or my husband is also equally responsible. So I think that's a broader best case sort of scenario where you can share best practices with companies in Pakistan. And I think more and more of that exposure is important so that at an institutional level, we can help bring in some of that parity and that expectation of gender parity as well.
This is just thinking aloud. So maybe we should start building something which is like as you said, advisory. Maybe we should have a advisory bridge between Finland and Pakistan, taking women entrepreneurs and women in the same thing that you're doing in Pakistan, same people who are doing the same in Finland, and just start building that bridge together for
100%.
advisory, for mentoring, for all that kind of stuff. So maybe this is a good idea that we can also actually discuss at the coming summit and make things to happen. But Misbah, thanks so much for your time. I think it's time to say welcome to Pakistan.
Thank you. Welcome to Pakistan, Willie. You've been here for a while and we hope to see you again here soon.
Thank you so much.